Steve Bartle, welcome to day 2. Follow along as I interview players and coaches throughout the day. Steve Bartle here, KSL Sports, here with Smith Snowden.
What up?
How's it going, man?
I'm doing good. I'm just excited to be here, man. Look around. It's awesome. I'm excited. It's my first Big 12 Media Day, so just excited to attack the day and just keep doing these interviews, right?
So what's this opportunity mean to you to be here at Big 12 Media Days, be here with, really a lot of the top players in the conference?
It's huge. Being able to represent the University of Utah and most importantly, my brothers it's a really big opportunity for me and that I don't take for granted, so I'm excited.
For you going into this season, you're viewed as one of the top players on the roster. For you to take that next step in your game, what have you been working on with your craft and just trying to take that next step?
I think it all comes down to leadership, a leadership role, and just owning that role, knowing that this is year 3 for me, and there's some young guys that I need to bring along with me and kind of show them the ways. But when it comes to just improving my craft, obviously man coverage, football IQ, and getting bigger, stronger, and faster.
Being here, just how fun is it to be here, obviously with your teammates, with your brothers, but with all these other players, these good players, and just kind of building relationships with them?
Yeah, it's always cool to network, right? Just being able to get to know the people that we're going to be playing it's a cool experience for sure, and just being here with the guys, Spencer, Dev, Lander, it's been fun, man. We got to fly a little private jet. That was dope, so it's been a good week, man.
Love it. So going back a few weeks ago, maybe even 2 months ago, you had a tweet. Pride and tradition of the Utah Utes isn't entrusted to the weak and timid. What inspired that? What was kind of the motivation with that tweet? Because it's almost served as sort of a rallying cry for Utah fans.
Yeah, it's actually been a quote that I want to say Michigan used maybe in like the 80s or 90s. And when I saw that and when I was kind of going through what I was going through, I was like, yeah, for sure.
That's the
one.
Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's awesome. And so for you, taking on that role of leadership this year, how important is that for you?
It's super important, man. The best teams are rallied behind their leaders, right? So just being able to take that leader role in and just bring others along it's going to be good. It's going to be a good season.
Awesome.
Yes, sir.
Smith, appreciate the time, man. Good
it.
luck
My
being here and doing everything.
Yes,
appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir.
Steve Bartle, KSL Sports, here with
Spencer Fano.
Spencer Fano.
And Swoop.
Spencer, what's it mean to you to be here at Big 12 Media Days, taking in everything, being one of the top players in the conference essentially, and just what's it mean to be here?
It's a blessing. This is such a cool place to be at. I mean, I'm really enjoying being here. It's a blessing.
Yeah. What's it been like getting out here, talking with the media? Because you're a fun personality. You having fun with this?
Oh, I mean, it's a lot of fun. Yeah. I mean, I got my shadow right here.
Right.
Got my dog Swoop. It's been a lot of fun. I'm trying to meet a lot of new people.
Yeah.
And enjoy it. Yeah.
Love that. It's been an eventful summer for you. A lot of things going on. What's been the funnest thing you've experienced so far in the off season?
My brother's wedding. That was probably number 1.
Shout out to Logan.
Yeah. Shout out Logan, man. Yeah, my brother's wedding was great. I was able to go with my beautiful wedding date, my girlfriend Sammy. Shout out Sammy. Yeah.
Love it, dude.
The most fun thing.
Love it. All right. So, obviously viewed as one of the top offensive tackles in the country. How do you embrace those sort of evaluations, opinions, expectations, even as you go into the 2025 season?
I just see it as I'm in a spot that I've always wanted to be in.
Yeah.
This is the position that I wanted to be in going into next year. So I'm very appreciative, but everything for me is really the same. It doesn't really matter how other people see me if I don't perform. So I feel like for me, I just need to keep getting better.
For you, your counterpart, Caleb Lomu on the other side of the line, following a similar path, similar trajectory.
Yeah.
How cool is that to experience that with somebody else that plays essentially the same role, same position? And what have you seen from Caleb this offseason that gives you confidence in him moving forward into 25?
It's been so awesome. I mean, he's one of my best friends. We came in to Utah together, and seeing him, I feel like everyone in the building's known that he not only is that kind of player, but that he was going to be when we first got here. So I don't know. It's been awesome seeing him like that. And could you repeat the end of that question? Sorry.
Oh, just what do you think of his? What do you think of his essentially the development that he's had and the work that he's put in this offseason going into the season?
Oh, it's been incredible. Like that dude's a dog. Yeah. There's not a lot of dudes as big as he is that move like he does. And I don't know. He's a dog. He's a dog. He's been putting in a lot of work, and yeah.
That's cool. All right, last one. Jim Harding, Isaac Asiata. When I say those two names, what does that mean to you?
Man, that's Batman Superman right there. That's the go-to tag team. It's a go-to duo right there, man. The best online coaches in the country. Batman Superman. I almost said Batman Robin, but Isaac would have gotten mad at me. So Batman Superman right there.
Love it, dude. Spencer, appreciate the time, man. Best of luck here. Best of luck throughout the season.
Thank you. Whoa, I can hear myself. Hell yeah, dude. It's extremely important. I feel like just as an offensive lineman, having a relationship with the quarterback actually takes a lot of pressure off of our shoulders. If you have someone behind you that you trust, that you know is confident, that you know is going to get the job done, it's a lot easier for you as a lineman to get your job done. So it's pretty huge.
So it's a grind, and I love it.
KSL Sports, Big 12 Media Day, Day 2. I'm Steve Bartle. This is Mitch Harper. Lot to recap from today. And Mitch, start with you. Just takeaways from what we saw today with the other half of the Big 12 Conference.
A busy day with coaches from Kyle Whittingham, Coach Prime, Mike Gundy, big personalities in the league, some of the biggest names in the conference. I thought once again, the spectacle that is Coach Prime still is going to be a big deal in Boulder. You saw that with how the media, he pulls in an audience unlike any other coach in college football, and he noted that he's got a quarterback battle that he doesn't know yet who's going to be that starting quarterback, as they brought Caden Salter and Juju Lewis here to Big 12 Media Day. So that caught my attention, but then just, again, the concerns from coaches in the Big 12 with revenue sharing and how it's at top of mind, and it probably gives them many sleepless nights.
Yeah, it was interesting with Coach Prime, talking to a lot of folks. There were a lot of people who believed, maybe Coach Prime wouldn't even show up today. So to see him was kind of a pleasant surprise. And as you said, it is kind of a spectacle anytime he's around. And I thought that Coach Prime was a little refreshing in terms of the laughter he brought. Like he was entertaining. He was Coach Prime, and his personality shone through. But, to your point about the conversation that centers around rev share and everything going on with NIL and the circumventing of the rules, that continued to be a strong message and a unified message from the Big 12 and all the coaches that, there needs to continue to be more enforcement, needs to be rules and guardrails. And I think you heard today that the Big 12 believes in what they're doing in regards to the coaching and the development. but you can kind of sense that there's some concern and maybe even fear with what is happening behind the scenes with the money and recruiting and what's happening there. So it's been interesting. But again, that was a really strong message today that was pushed by the other coaches from day one as well.
I thought another thing that kind of caught my attention, once again, I mean, it's year 4 for Brett Yormark. Coaches still being very vocal about their support for him.
Yeah.
He just got a new contract extension, so clearly the league is very excited about what he's doing. But you've got coaches just unprovoked saying best commissioner in college sports. So there's, and I think that's just noteworthy considering the history of the Big 12. When you think of the volatile nature of this conference, where they've been picked apart, there does have this feeling of stability, and who knows long term what it'll be. Kyle Whittingham even discussed what he still believes could be in the future for conference realignment in the future, and you can talk about that more. But this league still seems pretty unified, which is still a completely different feel and vibe than what the league was, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I just think that creates an interesting dynamic that has no other power conference can say that, where you've got everyone can win it in any year, but then also they have this feeling of they're all moving in lockstep to some degree to try to create something that's big in this league. It's kind of like a startup league, and that's what it is. It's year 2 of this startup. What leaps do they take forward? They're very confident. They believe in Commissioner Yormark.
Yeah, and talking with the coaches yesterday and today, a lot of coaches believe in their program and their chances to win the conference, and yet there is one program that continued to be in the conversation or be a focal point of the message, and that's centered around, again, getting back to the rev share and the money. Texas Tech and the money that's been invested in that program, it's sort of become the hot topic in the conference, and you can sort of sense the not necessarily the frustration with Texas Tech individually, but just in general of what's going on behind the scenes with recruiting and the circumventing of rev share and what's that's supposed to provide. I think there's a lot of expectations that it was supposed to provide firmer guardrails, and yet still programs continue to circumvent the rules, and so that's been interesting to hear from the coaches with that, in terms of Texas Tech always being the name, and Coach Prime,
I love that. He's getting money. I loved it.
He said it as plainly as you could say, man. He was super funny with that, and so that's been a thing. And Mitch, I'd ask you, because we've got to interact with coaches, players, other media members. How do you see the Big 12 going into 2025 in terms of, favorites and who might you pick as the favorite to win the championship?
If we had a preseason poll, I'd go with Texas Tech.
I would too.
I think Texas Tech, to me, is the team to beat, because they still have the skill position talent that you've grown to expect with Texas Tech, but it's completely overhauled the defensive line and the offensive lines too. If that offensive line can come together pretty quick, that's going to be a really good group.
Yeah.
A lot of experience, all conference players they added in the portal. That's the thing about Texas Tech's strategy in the portal that was interesting, is that high-level players, all conference guys throughout that portal. It wasn't just adding a boatload of transfers. It was all conference guys, and probably came with some big price tags. But hey, they're going all in. So I'm buying in on Texas Tech. They've got probably the weakest schedule too, I think, in the league. And a lot of the tough games that you would think are going to be tough are in Lubbock, and that fan base just seems like this is their moment. But they've always been an 8-7 win team in this league. I think I'm buying in. I think I'm buying in on Texas Tech to break through and win the league. I think a sleeper for me is TCU. I think TCU is going to be a team, like last year they were 9-4, so maybe you can't classify them as a sleeper, but they didn't play or beat any top 25 teams last year. So I think that's why a lot of people are still kind of sleeping on them, but I think TCU is going to be really good too.
That's interesting with TCU. They do return a lot. Obviously the top producer at quarterback in terms of passing yards with Josh Hoover. They've got a potential breakout candidate at receiver in Eric McAllister, who was really productive last year. And then what's interesting, Mitch, obviously Texas Tech, we're talking a lot about the money, and when you invest $50 million in your student athletes, it's going to give you a pretty nice advantage. And so they've invested in the football program. They still returned quite a bit from last year's team, and so that's why I think they've emerged as sort of the favorite, because they've added all of those quality transfers and really built up the depth needed to make a championship run.
The only thing that's holding people back from kind of leaning in on them is that it's their logo. They've never won.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really it.
Probably, yeah.
That's the only thing that's kind of preventing people from saying they're going to win it, because they've just never done it. I mean, since they've been in the Big 12 since '96, an original member, they haven't won this league.
Yeah.
And it's been few and far between winning more than 8. And I think, and that's kind of one of the things that's kind of quirky about college football, is that a logo almost predicts or makes people predict a feeling of a team going into a year. But when you just look at that talent, they got NFL personnel. It's just different with Texas Tech this year, particularly in the trenches, and that's why I'm buying in on them. And I just think that they're a really good program, and I think also Joey McGuire's the guy to break through and get them to the promised land. But I think also I like TCU, as I noted. I think West Virginia, I think they're going to be in the back half of the league, but I'm very intrigued what Rich Rod does in this first year in the conference. People look at the 50-plus new faces as a bad thing. To me, I look at it like you're finding guys that are going to fit your systems from the get-go.
Right.
You're not inheriting guys that don't fit what you want to do. I think in this transfer portal era, that's okay.
Yeah.
So I'm very intrigued by West Virginia, and the travel piece of them is always a little bit tricky.
It's kind of like traveling to Pullman. You got to fly into Pittsburgh. You got to fly, and you're driving 2 hours to get there.
You'll make that trip this year with Utah. I did it 2 years ago at BYU. It's one of the great spots in the Big 12, but it's a little bit challenging.
Yeah.
So I just think that's always a bit tricky. But I just think this is a fascinating league. But I do also believe, Steve, and I asked your Mark about it yesterday, but I just think there's got to be some big time brands that emerge. That every year you just say that's going to be the team or the program. Like, regardless of the player movement, they're going to find a way to be in the conversation at season's end and make a push for the playoff, whether it's 12, 16 team, whatever it ends up being. They got to have that emerge. You can't go every single year saying any of the 16 teams can win it. It's a nice storyline right now, but this league needs that. We've seen that in college football historically, and this could be a year now that we've got a little bit of intel in this conference from year one.
Yeah.
Let's see who can kind of build it up and become the next Clemson, the next Oregon. That's going to be the challenge for these programs.
What's interesting, obviously talking a lot about Texas Tech and them kind of being our new favorite now, but I still think Arizona State is going to be a good competitive program. Really tough for me to not stick with that pick. But I think what's interesting with Kenny Dillingham is, he had the comment, I think, to Pete Thamel or something, recruiting is dead. It's all about retention.
Yeah.
Retention is alive is his quote. And I think for him, it's a little bit different, right? He's got a good squad. He's got a team that went to the championship, won the championship, went to the playoff, almost got a playoff win.
A lot returning,
and
too.
a lot returns from that team. And so I think Kenny Dillingham, Arizona State, I loved listening to Coach Dillingham talk yesterday with the media, just straight to the point, direct, and was really, you could just feel the confidence that he's gained after last season, not only in his own personal confidence and how he carried himself, but the confidence in his team. That's a team that now knows how to win, and it's going to be up to Sam Leavitt to take another step as a quarterback to become the Batman of that team, essentially, without Cam Scatteraboo there. But I think Arizona State is still going to be in the mix. Kansas State, I think, is going to be up there. And I think, in talking with a lot of the national media members, a lot of belief still in Utah and Kyle Whittingham and what they're doing with Devin Dampier coming in. There's been a lot of excitement in wanting to get to talk to and hear from Devin Dampier. So, Utah is going to be 4th, 5th, 6th in the league. I think they've done enough to be a team that's capable of winning 7 to 8 wins, and then getting to that 9 and 10. That's going to be the difference in game, where you get those 1 or 2 bounces, right? I think that's going to be the difference there. But a lot of optimism for Utah, and still, you talk to a lot of people. 8, 9 teams in this league have a chance to win, and I think that's really impressive in one sense. But to your point, I do think that the conference needs 1 or 2, maybe 3 programs to emerge above the rest, to carry the league, to be the flag bearers of the league. And I think what'll be interesting is to see that over the next couple of seasons, how that evolves.
You brought up Utah. Your thoughts on what Whittingham said today? You got the chance to talk to the players. What were the big takeaways for you from the Utes, who held it down here at center stage on day 2?
Yeah, listening to Kyle, all business. And I thought he was pretty to the point, in terms of his answers and responses and sharing some insights about his team and his program. And, he made no ifs, ands, or buts about it, no excuses about what happened last season, despite injuries being a big reason for their struggles. But he knows that, they still have a lot of talent in that program, that they should have had more success. And that's been a big motivating factor for him in coming back, is last year's struggles. And so, it's been interesting to get to talk to Devin Dampier, Spencer Fano, Lander Barton, and Smith Snowden today to get a better sense of the team. And I just think the vibe and the energy with those players is so much different than it was last year. And not to say that last year was the incorrect mode in terms of how the players handled themselves. It was a very business-like approach. But I just think, and it was kind of talked about yesterday and today, that these are still young adults kind of going through life, growing, and there's still an element where it's important to have fun, to enjoy yourself. And you could see that with Devin Dampier and Spencer Fano. They were enjoying themselves today. They had a lot of fun being here and understood what it meant to represent the school. And I think that was refreshing to see that. So, I think, there's a new vibe around the program with the changes that Kyle Whittingham has made, but still, it's all about Whittingham and his approach, and his business-like approach with his program, and that's still a mainstay with him. And they know that they've got to right the ship this season, and I think that's going to be their entire focus, is getting back to the Big 12 championship. They know that they've got a lot of talent on that roster. It's just, how do certain players like Devin Dampier, obviously going to be a big influence and have a big impact, a significant impact on the team this year, but how that all comes together in terms of his acclimation to the Big 12. So I think that's going to be key for Utah, obviously, is Devin Dampier's acclimation to this level of competition, and he understands that. He acknowledged that it is going to be a step up, and that he needs to be a better decision maker moving forward, which I think is going to be the biggest key to Utah's outlook in 2025.
It caught my attention listening to Whittingham say here on the stage, but then kind of going in greater detail on the back end, the end zone here in the Star, about the leadership of Dampier. Yeah. He noted the Dampier got on the leadership council in 2 weeks, and it was overwhelming votes, as Whittingham noted. And I thought to myself, it's kind of interesting because, 20 years ago this season, Whittingham is going through his first season as the head coach. Obviously been around Utah football for 30 years, I mean, plus. But I got to imagine, Steve, you've been around it as close as anyone. Witt's had some good QBs, Huntley, Brian Johnson. Yeah. You can go through the list, and that's pretty noteworthy to me. I thought it was significant when he noted the leadership piece, because I know Utah prides itself on that, but to have that element in play, we know about Beck and the continuity there and the scheme fit, but to have that X factor, the intangibles, yeah. He seemed really comfortable here and kind of representing Utah too.
Yeah, and that was a good point. Something that it was kind of interesting to hear you bring that up. You mentioned it, and it kind of dawned on me that this is kind of a unique situation for Devin Dampier to come in and not necessarily assert himself, but I think he went about it in the right way. And he talked about it during spring ball, that he just wanted to become one of the guys. He didn't want to come in and be sort of tell you how to do this and that. He made it a point to get to know his teammates away from the field and spend time with them away from the field. And it's been talked about quite a bit over the last couple months that Dampier takes his offensive linemen out to lunch, out to dinner pretty frequently. And he's been about that sort of action since he's gotten here. And I think that is really what Utah needed to help right the ship this season, is somebody to come in to provide that sort of charismatic energy, somebody that can rally the troops and do it in a fun, positive manner. And I think that is what Dampier has brought to the table as a leader. I think he's been exactly what Utah needed to turn the page from the last couple of seasons, which have been really frustrating and for Utah fans and for the team and the program itself. I think it's been refreshing to have Dampier in the program with just how he goes about life.
What does success look like for Utah this year, coming out of Big 12 Media Days?
Yeah, I think, it's going to be interesting because this is, you are coming off a 5-7 season, but still the expectations are that Utah wants to compete and needs to compete for a Big 12 title. And I think that's the goal. I think, with Utah, when you look at that schedule, it's a pretty tough schedule. And I get that they have a lot of home games, a lot of key games at home, but it's still tough competition. You open up against Texas Tech in the conference opener. You're going to welcome Arizona State to Rice-Eccles Stadium, travel to BYU, bring in Colorado the following week. It's a tough schedule. So I think for Utah, they want to contend, and that's going to be key. And I think getting to 8-9 wins would be deemed a success. But for that team, it's still Big 12 title or bust, and that's going to be the expectation of them and how they approach this season and go into this season. But I think getting back to 8-9 wins and getting back to a bowl game is going to be the bare minimum for Utah this season.
As we kind of wrap it up here at Big 12 Media Days, I do have to mention the Big 12 is continues to lean into its sponsorship with the WWE. Big E. SmackDown's coming to Utah, Salt Lake.
Oh, yeah.
Salt Lake City around Halloween, I believe. I think it's Cincinnati week.
Yep.
So that's coming to Salt Lake City SmackDown, but Big E was here. He talked about Cosmo's the mascot that can win a Royal Rumble, in his opinion, among Big 12 mascots. He also noted that Utah's got Polynesian linemen that would be well served to be in the WWE.
Yeah.
The full clip is very funny. It can be taken out of context.
Yeah.
So I won't quote the exact thing, but it was very funny. But Big E, the WWE, I guess my last thoughts is just the Big 12 is a different league.
Yeah.
It's not going to be conventional like the SEC, the Big 10. It's not traditional, and they almost are leaning into that. And will that work on the field? We shall see, but should be an exciting year of Big 12 football, Steve.
It definitely should, and I think being here and talking to everybody, I think you realize just how competitive it's going to be. This is going to be another year where it could be, you turn it upside down and anybody could win. I think there's a lot of confidence in each individual program, and so it's going to be, pretty entertaining year. And I think there's an understanding that, this conference has to take care of business in the non-conference too.
Good point.
And I think that's going to be the biggest key for the Big 12 moving forward, is taking care of business in those non-conference games, because as we get into the playoff, the playoff conversation, having those wins in your back pocket is going to be valuable. So, it's been a lot of fun to be here in Frisco, Texas at the Star. It's been great to work with Mitch. Appreciate everybody for tuning in, for following along with all of us here at KSL Sports. Mitch, you got your podcast up. Where can people find you, and where can they support the podcast?
Yeah, just subscribe to this channel, give a thumbs up. Cougar Tracks Podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever your podcast, and on the KSL Sports app. Download that. You get everything, our bylines, all of our content from Big 12 Media Days on the KSL Sports app.
Myself, Steve Bartle, from Mitch Harper, signing off.